Thank you. Thank you. We want to open it up to the audience right now just to speak about the welcoming city and immigration part of this. So if you have any, okay, yes. If you have comments, I would just ask for the first 5 to stand here in this aisle so that we don't have to try to get the mic into the middle of the aisle, please. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I was just taking notes as I listened to the initial conversation, the reasons people were giving for why they might be for or against the resolution. And I thought, in the video up front, one of the signature points of this conversation was respect for each other, respect for the community, and that's what we're looking for in this conversation, and that should guide whether or not we want to be welcoming or not, right? Is that respect for the people in our community. So in just the past 10 minutes or so, immigrants coming into town has been described as pooping in the yard. They can't work, but they can do side jobs sometimes. They'll be at your house. They all can't get food. They're going to kill the geese in the park. They're going to come into your yard and eat your dog. They're going to use up all the housing, but also not pay for it, so it's just going to be gone, and then the city won't have it anymore. There's been a various amount of anecdotal crimes they've been accused of doing, and that applies to the whole group, not just the people who did the crimes. They've been applied as innately immoral, and they'll put Bay City people in danger if they come into town. We don't know who they are, implying that we do car check all the people who come into town otherwise, and I know if someone moves in across from me, someone has checked them and made sure they're cool enough to move in. They are small-minded and just naturally hate us and they're naturally jealous of us, every single one. They cook on dirt stoves, they feel running water, and therefore they're lesser and would be incapable of adapting if they came here. They'll rip your heart out, they'll chop your head off, they'll throw out that pregnant woman in the gutter. And if they come here, we won't be able to keep our way of life. And I just wonder what in those accusations that have been made in the last 10 minutes have anything to do with respect.
Thank you.
Can I answer?
Sure.
Respecting the people that live here so they don't have to go through. Respect comes in for everybody who's already here. As this gentleman had mentioned, there may be quite a few crimes committed by white people. My age, his age, this is true. We have people living here. We do not have a crime-free country. We already know this. We have bad people. There's bad people born of every skin color, of every size, tall, small. Why would you want to encourage more behavior that could be coming from bad people because they got here illegally and nobody knew?
Are you claiming they are more natural?
Wait, sorry.
I'm claiming there's terrible, evil people around the entire world. I've physically paid attention and have been places and known where Al-Shabaab, being connected with Minnesota, money left our country, ended up in Al-Shabaab's hand. Al-Shabaab ran into Kenya and shot and killed 50 people that were already in the hospital. You chuckle about it like this didn't happen, but it did happen. A gentleman jumped on a bus with a grenade and killed everybody around him, plus himself, and blew a 10-foot hole in the side of the bus. What you're saying is like everybody is loving and caring. And the sad part is they're not. So the respect comes in to make sure it don't happen in your neighborhood.
So let me say this, Jeff. Do you think that it is fair to say that when people come into whoever they are, if they are immigrants or if they just moved to a city, that there is a possibility that they could be good or bad? Is that fair to say?
Right.
Is that fair? I mean, that's not possible? No?
Yes. People.
No, I'm asking everybody, is that not possible, that it is fair to say that, because I think what's happening in a lot of times in these conversations is very extreme on either end. It's either everybody is angelic or everybody is, okay, yes. And so is it fair for us to say that human behavior happens and it's possible? Can we at least agree on that?
Yep.
Okay, can we, Ben, say something? You have to say something. Is it possible for us to at least say that human behavior is possible? And human behavior could be good, human behavior could be bad. That is a possibility. And I think what happens and why we're not able to move forward in some of these discussions is because nobody is willing to deal in that gray area and that nuance.
Yeah.
And we are all digging our heels in on both sides instead of being able to at least have that discussion.
I have a data point I would like to share.
Give me 1 second. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance really quick. Yep.
I'll be good about it.
Okay.
So I guess the question I have is for the people who are kind of like against it. The conversation seems to, as he was kind of saying, like assume that the people who are coming here are like border hoppers, like took a raft here. Do we have those people who are opposed to something like this? Do you have any room for consideration for people who are here fleeing evil dictatorships or dangerous situations? Do you have any room for people who are already here and then maybe some sort of like expired visa or something like that? Is every single one of the people who want to come here and aren't 100% legal, are they all teen rapists? Are they all murderers who don't know how to do work, right? Is there any room in your minds for immigrants like that? Do those people exist?
Does anybody want to speak that's
I have
against?
to reference the respect.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I completely think I do understand there are people here who have been here for many years who are working citizens who are members of, who are law-abiding citizens to a degree because they're illegally here or whatever. And I don't think that those kind of people should be, no, so I can't say that I agree with the whole, all I'm talking about is for Bay City. For me, it's about Bay City and about if somebody comes here and we help them, we help them. We don't need a name on it. For me, that's how I feel
So
about it.
you're okay with people moving here from different parts of the world?
Yes, just there's no reason to put a name on it so we draw more attention to it, is my take on it. Like to help somebody is to help somebody. Of course I want to help somebody. Do I think that Trende Aragua is going to come moving in here? I don't think, I think the statistics on that are slim to none. But I do think that a lot, somebody who's been here for years who's can't go home because it's insane over there and whatever's happening, absolutely. I have no problem with helping them. I just don't feel like throwing a name on our city is necessarily the answer. Be a good person without having a name about it. You don't have to have a pat on the back about it. You don't have to be like, hey, look at us. We can just be good people without having a name on it. That's it. That's how I feel.
Go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
So, to the gentleman in the audience's point, I've interacted with a couple of different folks in the community who happen to be here outside of legal parameters, I guess. And one of them was a productive member of society, expired visa. It's the epitome of what he was talking about, right? 9 times out of 10, that's what we're talking about. But also, I feel as if we're getting into a lot of anti-immigrant identity politics and really getting away from what the policies were. It wasn't just a name. It wouldn't have this influx of immigration here, right? All it said is our local resources, which, by the way, they're pretty slim if you didn't know that, stay locally. Our police won't help ICE agents if they come here. That's it. They currently don't, so we would be putting that into practice. The most recent round also said, guess what? If you are here to enforce any kind of law, you're not going to wear a facial covering. Pretty basic stuff, right? Like all of these things are not that extreme, yet we get identity politics in the mix and people start saying, oh my gosh, they're all rapists, killers, and cat stealers, and all of this wild stuff. They're hardworking folks. Oftentimes, they're coming here for asylum because I do believe that we're the greatest nation in the world. And they evidently see that too, right? Or at least they see somewhere that they could build a life at that isn't plagued with gang violence, right? Or whatever it is they're fleeing from. They're just people trying to get by. And guess what? If you're not an indigenous person, if you're not like a member of the tribe here locally, we all immigrated here at some point. All of our folks did, right? My great-grandparents emigrated here from what's now Slovakia. My Irish immigrant family came here through Canada. I am 99% sure they didn't come here legally, right? It was just so long ago that, guess what, we have birthright citizenship, and people stop caring at some juncture. So before you turn your nose up or say something judgy about somebody who's coming here, remember that all of our families came here at some point, right? And also bear in mind that, again, statistically, and it is a fact, illegal immigrants are far less likely to be the perpetrators of crimes. It's a fact. I know some folks don't want to listen to fact, they don't want to read facts and accept them as factual, but that doesn't change the fact that folks compile data so that we know these things to be true. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, bring
Thank
that
you.
here.
Oh, okay, and then after you, Scott, I want to go take it back to the audience.
Okay, first thing I wanted to say was to the first gentleman, was how many people in this audience agreed with everything that he just said?
Nobody agrees with everything.
How many people agreed with what he said? He went and put every word that every person said here, but that is not what everybody said as far as the immigrants. He was using hypotheticals. That's what he was doing. Not one person thought that anybody here that was coming to this city was going to go down and kill geese at this point or anything. And you're putting it out there.
Well,
He was using it as a hypothetical that people
okay,
would do anything
this is what he said, was that if he was hungry, he would be tempted to, and he was using an example of someone
He
was
would
hungry.
go find food.
So let's move on from
But
that.
anyways.
But yes,
But the second gentleman, his talking about the people who were fleeing other countries, there's port of entries for coming here. That if you're seeking asylum, you seek asylum, you don't do it illegally. So there's rules that you need to follow. You don't go and speed down I-75 because you're in a hurry because you have someplace to be. There's repercussions for what you do. So that's it.
thank you. So let's go back to the, thank you.
Okay, so I thrive on accountability and truth. I think those are the two most powerful tools in the world. And I think that's what we're really fighting here is the truth versus the lie. And it's what's really happening here is we're talking about a welcoming city. Basically already a welcoming city. Most every city in this world is a welcoming city. We get to come and go to any state, any city we want to. I think when I talk to the citizens of Bay City, because I do that, what the citizens of Bay City is fear, when you ask the word fear, they fear the word sanctuary, because that's what we're really talking about here. Let's talk about the truth. The truth is sanctuary city. And we don't want this to be a sanctuary city. I'm going to tell you why we want this to be a sanctuary city. Because each and every single one of these people here, we're held under a law. And that law has consequences. Again, we talked about white man to kid, why we using the word right now, but yes. I am one of them guys that committed a crime. Talk about truth and accountability. I committed a home invasion first degree. I walked into somebody's home where I did not belong. I did 18 years in prison because of that. I took that from somebody. They'll live with that for the rest of their life. They'll be changed forever. I'm not changed. I get out and I make life for myself because I said I'm not going to do that again. But what I'm going to tell you is I went to prison for 18 years for that because I went into a home that I didn't belong. Now we're talking about immigrants and people that don't belong here. If you are seriously fleeing from something, come the right way. Because if I come to your home, you're not going to sit me down and give me milk and cookies, and I sit on your chair and say, hey, I'll never leave you. You're going to call the police. I think that's funny how half the people in the world keep talking about defund the police and do all this and that, but the first people you call isn't the police. So let's be real again, truth versus the lie. And we talk about thy neighbor, really? This is what I want to say about thy neighbor. Because God himself talked about the alien in his word. And Jesus himself only spoke God's word. He didn't have his own words. He spoke God's word. And God spoke about the alien in the Old Testament. And he basically was talking about accountability and being responsible. And he said do not put those people as leaders. And I will show you, I will have to look it up, it is in there. So, we talk about truth. Let's talk about truth. The fear that Bay City has is the word sanctuary city. Bay City is already a welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we have another one to respond. 1 second. Yep.
All right. So the first thing I want to point out is that a sanctuary city is very deliberately a city that will not cooperate and will not allow ICE and immigration officials to come in and conduct any business. That is the definition. These resolutions do not in any way do that. They prevent our money from being spent. And furthermore, if you said you spent 18 years in prison, and I genuinely hope that that rehabilitated you. But you still have a right to exist in our society. We are asking the same for other people. Coming into this country illegally is a civil infraction. That is nothing close to a felony, and yet you are saying that these people deserve less rights. And that is what I cannot agree with. Yeah.
I think, give me 1 second. I just want to, and this is just me listening, and I think that, and you can, sir, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that what I was hearing you say is that you feel as though you created you did a crime. You committed a crime is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. You committed a crime and you feel like you had a consequence for that. That's what I'm hearing. I don't think, Kayla, and this is where I like good conversation, because I think that sometimes, and I'm not trying to misinterpret what you're saying either, but I think sometimes we still go to these extremes with everything. And I really honestly think, not defending or just what I heard, was that there was a crime that was committed, and if you feel like there was a crime, it's not comparing the crimes, but it's just saying there was a crime that was committed and then there's a consequence to that. Is that what you were saying? And you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Just real quick,
Yes.
what I'm saying is that I'm not sure exact policy.
Yes.
The policy states like, even though it's a civil infraction and 90-day misdemeanor, because obviously our laws have different, consequences.
Yeah.
But that part of that is still being reported if you get caught. Now, me personally, if I find someone that's immigrants, I'm going to call the police and say, hey, get out. I don't get less. But, there's a way to come to this. To come through the door, not, just like I was saying.
So you're talking about the process and then going, yes, right.
So come through we have a policy of how to come into America.
Sure.
Everybody. Oh man, I love everybody to come to this country, because we do. This is the greatest country in the world.
Sure.
It's the most diverse country.
Most days.
Right, because there's people like me when we're young, who make mistakes.
I'm joking.
Some of us make the poor choice in more young.
Yes.
But it happens.
No, I hear what you're saying. I just want to make sure.
I'm saying the policy, there was a consequence for me. I had to deal with that consequence. And, I perceived the bad now, but it turned out for the good. I bought a house in Bay City, and
Right.
a couple of years of being out.
Right.
And I did it all on my own. So what I'm saying is, these people, when they come over here, they broke the law. It don't matter how you know the law is in this community, they broke.
No, I hear you.
So what I'm saying is, that part of that policy is, they got deported or they get in trouble. Unfortunately, it's horrible. Yeah, I would say it's horrible when they get caught, they're stuck in this little, how many houses kind of work.
Yeah.
But it's like that because it takes time to figure out who these people are and get them and where they really came.
I've got to cut you off. I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. So for people that are, and then I want to get back to you, ma'am. For people that are for people coming in and seeking asylum or coming in to seek refuge,
They wouldn't be illegal.
are you saying that it is okay for them to come in no matter what, or do you think that there is any type of process that should be taken to do that? I'm curious.
There is a legal way to do it.
Yes, and I want to hear directly from them, people who think that it is. Yeah.
All right.
right, so I am a very strong advocate of essentially the punishment fitting the crime. For example, I feel that DACA was an incredible program because it took a situation, an innocent person who, yes, was here illegally through no fault of their own, and gave them a pathway. Yet that pathway has been taken away from them and they've been deemed illegal. There are so many inconsistencies in immigration law that need to be addressed before we can say that immigration law is just and fair. And that is my thing. You served your time, sir. And like I said, again, I sincerely hope that, it sounds like you've turned things around. It sounds like you're doing better. That's wonderful for you. How well would you be doing if you had committed a smaller infraction and instead of a smaller penalty, you were sent off to a country that you had no knowledge of, had never set foot in, didn't speak the language, with none of your support system? Could you still claim the same success?
So when it comes to people seeking refuge here, I feel as if we have a really bad habit of talking out of both sides of our mouth sometimes. We say, follow the law, yet don't acknowledge that the laws that are in place and the processes in place are broken, kind of like what Kayla was alluding to, right? And instead of spending time, energy, and money fixing the broken laws, we instead have money going into extreme enforcement of these broken laws. Thank you.
Can I speak or you?
No, yes. And then we're going to go back to the...
Which laws are we going to uphold? Can we be a sanctuary driver and drive down Washington and not stop at any stop sign and speed as fast as we want because I'm a sanctuary driver that day in Bay City? And the answer is no. When people are encouraging, we just got done saying, if somebody's coming to our country and they're fleeing a dictatorship, seeking refuge, we have a policy for that. They can come through. It's not about being against immigrants. It's being against illegal aliens and you have no idea who they are. There is a process to follow. When they were building the wall, oh, we can't have a wall. The wall has door wells. It has semi-trucks that come through every day. They check them. Does somebody want somebody to show up in Bay City with a bomb? Has it happened? No. The towers didn't fall until it happened. We had gentlemen from the thumb of Michigan drive a U-Haul truck to Oklahoma back in the 90s and blew half of a building up because they didn't like something going on. Again, it's not that every immigrant is a terrible, terrible person, but we don't know which ones are and which ones aren't. We already have enough bad people in the United States because bad people come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. It's not about, oh, they had to be a bad person. But if they came here illegally and they're an illegal alien, if they're here on an expired visa, why is it expired? Did they get a drunk driving ticket and never went to court? Why did they let it, if they valued that visa so much, like you value your car to get up and go to work in the morning and it breaks down, you go fix it. You don't let it expire and then sit there and cry, oh, I can't work no more because my car ain't here, because I failed to fix it.
Well, and I do want to just say this really quick. I remember years ago when I was in my early 20s and I drove around for quite some time with expired tags and no insurance because I could not afford it. And so again, this is not justifying one or the other, but it is a reality that happens. Sometimes life, I'm sure somebody here that has driven around without, the proper stuff.
You took
and so
a risk.
I took a risk. And I also know that if I got caught, I could get in trouble. And so but it is realistic sometimes that happens to people, and sometimes life is different. So I don't think that people intentionally sometimes don't go and get things renewed, or sometimes life happens and you just don't have the resources. Thank you.
I would just like to say that this country was founded on people coming here. And it's still that type of a melting pot. However, it's not the Wild West anymore, and we have laws that we've developed to control it. And we seem to have been following them for many years, and now all of a sudden it's just like we're throwing it all out and just letting people come here without laws. And it's almost as if we just made a mess of everything, and now we have funding issues for the people that were already here, that are abiding by the laws that are here. We have to abide by these laws in order to have the funding. So if we're gonna have people coming here, let them go through the laws that we've developed, but we have to change them, let's change them. But in the meantime, we already have laws established. Let's use them for the people that want to come here, and if they need to be in asylum, I do believe that there's federal funding for that when they're in asylum to make sure they have a place to stay and eat. But if you're allowing people to come here without any laws that they have to be abided by, then how are they going to eat? How are they going to sleep?
So your concern is that if people come here and they don't have proper resources to take care of themselves, then you are afraid they will do other things to get the resources? Is that what you're saying?
That's a natural thing.
I'm just asking for
Yeah, it's like a survival of those type things. So if we don't have the ability to, if we don't have an established route for them, they need to go through that route so they can be taken care of, they can become legal, they can get a job, they can get licensed like everyone else has to get licensed, and they go through the same process. That's all.
Thank you, thank you. So Kayla, before you go, very quickly, I want us to quickly answer so that we can get through here, because I want to get to a different topic. Okay, because I know this is a big topic for everybody, but I want to cover a few other things. So if everybody can make us kind of go a little okay.
So I do think that money is a valid concern here, and I kind of want to redirect that toward our city, because that is what this discussion is about. Just for funsies, a show of hands, how many of us have complained about the roads recently?
We were going to talk about that.
Our general fund is less than $30 million. That project over by, what was it,
The Lafayette Bridge?
no,
Probably
the elementary
west
school.
side.
The elementary
Street?
school on Lincoln. I think it was. Our share of that was what, $2 million? Now, how far do you think that $30 million is going to go to fix these roads, fix everything, have our city working and operational? The idea behind these was that money would not be spent on a question that is above our pay grade. This city, no one in this room, nothing we say, we're not going to influence this question at a national level here. All we're going to influence is how our city operates, and that is the question we should be discussing. It's not about whether we agree. It's not about whether you think immigrants should be coming here. It is about, can we afford to sustain and support the operations of a federal organization that is just received almost $1 trillion from the federal government. We didn't get $1 trillion. Imagine what we could do with $1 trillion. They did, and they should be the ones spending it on their jurisdiction while our dollars go to our local community and those roads we're all complaining about.
This is my first time at one of these meetings, so I just want to say really quick, I've heard that they're a love fest, and I did not come here expecting to hear, they're eating the dogs, they're defecating in your yard. That's weird. Anyway, I'm hearing a lot of decision-based arguments, and piggybacking on what Ben and Kayla have said. The welcoming city is not just a label that we're slapping on to feel good. We've always been a welcoming city, but we want to codify those things into our government. That is the government's job. to uphold the law, and the law of our land is the Constitution. And I know this is way bigger than us, and we have no influence on it, but we have a federal government who is violating citizens' constitutional rights all the time, detaining people who have tried to come here illegally, taking them from their court dates, taking them from traffic stops, shooting people in the street for things that definitely do not carry a death sentence, and they shouldn't be judge, jury, and executioner in the first place.
They shouldn't be put in that situation.
So welcoming resolutions were not about whether or not we welcome immigrants. They were about whether or not we are going to welcome ICE and cooperate with ICE. And are we going to waste our precious tax dollars, our money that should be going into our city infrastructure, to aiding a lawless, poorly trained bunch of federal thugs who, if you look up the statistics, 3/4 of the people who have been detained by ICE had no criminal convictions. About 5% of them had committed some kind of civil offense. About 6% of them had accidentally committed some sort of traffic violation. And these people are being detained indefinitely for months and months and held away from their families. They are conducting illegal searches and seizures, breaking doors down.
So let's bring it back to Bay City, though. I wanna kind of bring it back to Bay City a little bit. Yeah.
It's just, it was about due process and people feeling safe in their city, like their city is going to uphold their constitutional rights and not cooperate with ICE, which we know I think that's the real enemy. I think the enemy here is hate and fear. We should be fighting poverty, not the poor. We should be fighting hate and fear, not immigrants.
So I just want to just make something very, very clear about what the Breaking River Village is, and just so we are clear on why we're here. We do operate in love, and love sometimes looks different, right? Love is not always gooey gooey and mushy mushy and kumbaya. Love is being honest, love is being transparent, love is being open, curious, and asking questions and having dialogue, and that's what we're doing today. And I'm super proud of that. And so no, it won't always feel good, because uncomfortability is sometimes hard, and sometimes hearing from other people is sometimes hard, especially if you don't agree. But that's why we're here today, and I'm super happy that we're doing this. And so we will, just so, since you've never been to one of our, I just want to make that clear, that yes, we do love, but our love sometimes looks a little different at times, because you have to get into that love and that uncomfortability to get to solutions and answers, and that's what we're doing today. So thank you.
I'll be real quick, but I've heard a lot of rhetoric tonight about who fought for Bay City, who belongs in Bay City, and what Bay City used to be. And I've got a little bit of personal history with it. In 1945, my grandpa fought for this country, went to Germany, came back with a couple extras. Bay City welcomed a woman that was born and raised in Nazi Germany. Let her live here for 4 years before she became a citizen, because it took that long to get naturalized, in which time she was neither legal nor illegal. There are a lot of gray areas we forget about. She, raised a family that is still here generations later. In 1962, Bay City was named International City USA because of our sister city relationships and what we did, and we were proud of that. And I hope we can be as progressive as we were in 1945 and 1962. Thank you.
Hi, since we talked about Bay City, when we started talking about the immigration, it wasn't that we're letting people come in. We was trying to protect those that's already here. And people, like so many people, you bring fear when you say the immigrants will steal, they will kill, that they have no lack of morals or anything like that. Any human being can be that way. We're talking about Bay City. Bay City's not a friendly city if you're not of color. if you're of color, you're gonna, well, if you're of color, it's not such a nice city. I was born and raised here. There's a lot of good white people here, and there's a lot of good people that's not so good as here. Good white people, good black people, good people all the way around. But when it comes to Bay City, we're trying to make it commonly who belongs here, who don't belong here. Who are any of us to say who belongs anywhere? And you want to say like your neighbor, you want to know your neighbor. Do you really know your neighbor? When you came to Bay City, did we ask you for your passport, for your birth certificate? Did we ask you to prove that you're actually white or that you belong here? Did we ask any of you here? Did anybody ask us? No. So when somebody's already here and has proven themselves, and maybe out of fear, they didn't go get the visa or they didn't get, what I want to say, what do I want to use to be legalized? So it was out of fear. So I think what we need to do, and what we should do for Bay City, is to try to help them get legalized. And for them taking away their job, if they're taking away their job, they're taking away jobs that you don't want to pay for anyway. Most people that are hiring immigrants, they know if they're legal, if they're not legal, and the only reason they're hiring them is because it's slavery. And therefore, they don't have to pay them what they really want. So if you want to get mad about people hiring immigrants, then get mad at the people that's in your line that's hiring them. Because nobody's making them hire them. And they're doing jobs that people don't want to do. They're not helping out the farmers. So for Bay City is good and bad. Bay City is broken. Like I said, there's a lot of good people here, and that's not so good. There's a lot of kindness here, and there's not kindness. Because like, for instance, we have the Confederate band here for the 4th of July. Okay, well, see, I let you know, Bay City's not so friendly, okay? But what I'm saying, as far as sticking to the topic, we're not talking about immigrants trying to come in. We're talking about those that's already made a name, made a place, keeping them safe. We're talking about not bringing us in. And then if you say, well, the Jew, they're going to take a referendum. They're already taking a referendum. When Trump came into office, we had nothing but chaos. That's why people are going crazy, doing what they want to do, and making up a lot of excuses. The bottom line is something right, is something wrong. It's something good, it's something bad. But I want someone to do me that way, then why am I doing someone that way? Who am I to judge to say I'm better than another person? Bay City can be a really good place if everybody be on one accord.
Okay. I agree with this young lady. We don't need to put a name on calling it a sanctuary city or anything like that. We are a welcoming city. This is not our real appearance that people are different. Morals have to come. I don't care if you're from Russia, I don't care if you're from Venezuela, from anywhere. If you're bad, you're bad. I am not a big person. I used to be tougher than I am today, but I'll tell you what, when I'm working at 8 o'clock at night at my shop, and I have to worry about carrying a gun to go out my door, to come home, because who knows what's going to happen. We already have crime. We don't need any more. I'm not saying every one of them are criminal, but let's not poke that bear. Where are you going to house them?
Well, I do want to bring that. I do want to bring that up because that is one thing. That is one thing that has been a part of the discussion that people have asked me in regards to the current homeless situation here in Bay City. Their thought is where the resources going to come from to be able to, and that's something that is I think a fair question to ask, and not necessarily just that, but just basically, period, because there is a homeless situation here that people are concerned about and working on, and I know they have some things in the works of getting some more housing for people that are with addiction recovery and also homelessness, but that has been a part of the discussion.
And the fact that tent cities were removed and they had nowhere to go, I was very upset about that, very upset. Those people, you don't know how long they've been there. Years. Now, I know that wasn't a good place for them to be. I understand all that. My point being, why would we add more to our plate? You want to be a welcoming community, you want to welcome people, that's awesome. Let's do it legally. And this isn't about the administration, this is about our community. This is not about Trump, this is not about who let them in or whatever, this or that, or what he's doing. This is about Big City. I've been here 64 years. My parents had a small business. I had a small business. That's all I know. I've given to this community my whole life. We all break laws, maybe some of them. I don't even want to get onto that subject. I'm just saying the ones that are coming in illegally is wrong. That's it.
Good evening. God calls us to love our neighbor and truly believe that love is at the heart of everything we do. But He also calls us to be wise and responsible. That's why laws and rules exist, to protect and guide our community, not to be ignored when it's convenient. Love and responsibility can and should go hand in hand. When we talk about making Bay City a welcoming city, it's not a simple yes or no. There's a real gray area that we can care deeply about people and still ask thoughtful questions about how our actions affect the community. The passion, caution can coexist. They don't have to compete. Here's where it gets concerning for a lot of folks. Some push for a welcoming city name as if a label alone shows compassion, but a name doesn't solve practical problems or protect our residents. Sometimes see no evil, hear no evil becomes a risk when it draws attention to a very small group, when putting the larger community in a difficult spotlight. True compassion isn't just words, it's action and responsibility. It's a balance. We've also seen the real world side of tension in our city. Some people call collected hate clubs, like you're talking about the homeless thing. What gets me is what some of you guys don't realize is people took the time for Tent City and other places, me being personally one of them. We all collected gloves and hats. My friend Katie passed them out last year twice at Burning Burger. We're trying to manage a situation with responsibility, but it shows how small actions can escalate quickly when there's no oversight or accountability. Love means caring enough to address challenges, not ignore them. Public safety and accountability are vital. Not everyone coming in has bad intentions, but when individuals cannot be properly identified, whether through ICE, compliance, masking requirements, or other safety protocols, it raises a real question about how we protect our community while still treating people fairly and humanely. And on that note, I want to ask the council, if we're not in favor of everyone covering their face, how do we ensure safety and accountability for all residents? Bay City has already had programs and resources to help asylum seekers and others in need. That in love and action, but must be in balance with responsibility, safety, and keeping everything together to support our community. We should be coming together and focusing on the people that are here and trying to unite one another instead of focusing at being at meetings and trying to tear each other apart for people that aren't even currently here. I know illegal residents. They would like this issue to be put to mute because it's putting such a spotlight on them. It's scaring them more than helping them. See no evil, hear no evil. It's really that simple. Mind your own business sometimes.
Just want to ask this about my feelings on this whole debate in general. I'm sitting here and I keep a listen from both sides and see what's going on in this issue. And honestly, at the end of the day, all it makes me think about is I wish and hope, regardless of how this resolves, the Bay City Board be more selective and more targeted in the type of controversial issues we jump into. Because listening to both sides of this argument, I've been to the meetings, I've listened to all this, both sides are saying, well, we're just trying to preserve the status quo. Either way, right? We're saying the police aren't aren't, our police aren't cooperating with ICE in the first place, we're not following this. Opponents say, well, we're already doing this. Proponents say, well, let's just codify what we're already doing. At the end of the day, Bay City is not going to solve the immigration issue, and we lack the ability to solve the immigration issue at our local level. Is this a hot political topic that deserves to be talked about and argued about? Yes. Should this conversation be more to a congressperson? Probably, right? And so it seems to me that, Bay City gets a lot of press, whether it's earned or not earned, and if we want to be welcoming, it should be good press about what's going on in Bay City. I'm not saying we shy away from political issues or things that are going to be a hot topic, but at the end of the day, those things should be things that we can actually do about. Controversial political questions are going to come to the city whether we're trying for them or not, right? And so I would just ask that the city focus more on those types of questions that actually will change the day-to-day in Bay City and make our city better. And so those are my feelings.
I want to move on to a different topic. We have spent a lot of time there, but we are a believer that we spend time where we feel like it needs to be, and so I'm okay with that. But I want to really quickly talk about, we talked about infrastructure and city maintenance, and I want to kind of, weave that into city leadership. There has been a lot of dialogue surrounding city leadership and what that looks like, and if leadership is listening, and if you feel like leadership is doing the things that really help the city. And of course, I just want to add that perspective is so nuanced, and everybody has different experiences and they see things from different ways. But when it comes to leadership, what would trust between community and leadership look like? What would that look like for you? The trust, because right now it seems like trust is a little bit broken. And this is only in me interviewing and talking with people and what I'm reading and what I'm seeing. If you feel like it is different, please share. But what do you think that more trust between the community and city leadership could look like? Did you want to add anything? Oh, let me start on.
First off, as far as I'll bring up one subject, the city manager deal. I see people who know nothing about any part of business complaining on Facebook about Dana Muscat's getting paid right now. Her contract's ended, and she's getting $155 an hour. As a business owner, there is so much involved in payroll she's still working here and her contract's ended, so she lost her city insurance. So now she has to cover that because she's still working here. So all of that's rolled into her package. And all these people complain. They think she's taking home $155 an hour on her check, which she is not. And all the people that go out and they're keyboard cowboys who want to sit there and spout off when they know nothing about what these people have to get and do for their salary. So if there was less fake news, if you will, and people just going on Bay City complaints is a good one. There's people on there that I swear to God, they complain on there just to hear themselves talk.
So what do you think the solution to that is? How can better maybe communication or transparency take place? What is the solution to that, do you think, between the community and the city leadership?
Maybe the people should maybe engage with the city instead of just spouting off. Yeah. That would be the biggest thing, because I can't say that they can they could call during the workday and ask to talk to Dana. Would anybody out here give anybody their information of how much they make an hour and what all they have to pay? It's not gonna happen. And you need to be open-minded of how a business works. And that's what happens is these people don't know, and then they just go fly off the handle. She's getting $155 an hour. Did you figure that out? She's making $550,000 a year. No, she's not. So people need to cool their jets on just running and spreading fake stuff.
Okay, thank you.
I fully agree, 110%.
Oh, you got it.
Yes, 110%. Because the thing is that there's a lot of complaining about the city, about the government, any politicians at any level, right? And I think that engagement dispels a lot of that. A great example of what you were talking about is the Bay City Bridge Partner issue. One of the common complaints I've seen online from people is, well, why isn't our government doing anything? They landed us in this crappy contract, and now they're sitting there, they're sitting on their hands, and we're paying the price. I've lost count. But the problem, and the thing that a lot of people don't realize, and that I would love to be highlighted from tonight, is that there is a clause in that contract that is something Bay City Bridge Partners did to us. There is a clause in that contract that says that our elected officials and our city workers are not allowed to do anything that negatively affects their bottom line. So we have commissioners who ran because they were just as angry as we were about that issue. They sat down in that seat, they held up their right hand, swore in, and found out they had even less power. And that's one of the biggest problems. That's not something I learned from being on the commission. I've never been on our city commission. That's something I learned from sitting where all of you are sitting right now when the city commission is having their meetings. And that is how we dispel all of that distrust, is by getting involved. It's by showing up, and it's by listening. Instead of sitting there and saying, well, our commission doesn't do anything about the roads, come look at the insanely long consent agenda they vote on every single meeting, half of which usually have to do with the roads. The actions are there. They're just not being reported on because a consent agenda isn't newsworthy. It's not going to generate likes and clicks for a news agency, and you're not going to hear about it unless you sit where you're sitting right now.
Can I have 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
As far as the bridge partner thing, anybody here who is very upset with the bridge partners, the way that you get around that, and yes, there's traffic, but you don't use the bridge. That's it. You know, they take your money, put it on your account, and then they hold your money that they're making interest on that you never even used. Don't put money on your accounts. If you are that upset with your bridge partner, don't use them. And then don't complain about it.
Right, yep. Yeah.
I found it shorter to go to Saginaw to Home Depot or Lowe's in Saginaw instead of going around Henry Street to Home Depot in Bay City when I'm in the South End. So.
Can I have my phone? Did you have something? Okay, So are you answering the question about, are you answering the question about what does leadership, how do you grill? Okay.
For sure. So, as what he just mentioned, he's taken his business. Bangor Township is part of Bay City. The mailing address still says Bay City on it. That money just left Bay City. It ended up in Saginaw. Let's think about that. We all come down here, and I'm not going back into the old topic, we're fighting for immigrants and this and that. You see my point, I don't see your point, vice versa. What can we do? Everybody sat in here, you complain about the roads, nobody likes our roads. Our roads are effed up, everybody knows that. None of us are children, we understand. What does that come from? Infrastructure. Comes from businesses being here. that few dollars that Home Depot would have made and helped spread throughout our community, because people in the city of Bay City work at this Home Depot, a lot more of them. There might be a few in Saginaw at the Home Depot, but the majority of them are in our community, and they just lost out on that work. So what we all really need to start focusing on, instead of immigration policy, instead of complaining about this and not doing something about it, we would like our roads fixed. How can we do that? Bring more money to town. How can we put more businesses in town? Maybe if all of our effort was trying to solicit businesses,
how can we bring more
solicit businesses to come to town, make it easier. Maybe some of our laws, the mayor's here right now, we've got councilmen here, maybe our laws are too difficult. Just like the immigration laws, where some people feel it's too much for them to come through legally to illegal. Maybe some of our local laws are too difficult to keep business here. If we bring more businesses here, you open up 20 businesses. Each business hires 5 people. That's 100 people that just started working. That's 100 people spending money in our neighborhoods.
Okay.
That's taxes that are coming in, and where does the tax money go? I went and paid my taxes today. $3,500 went to the community.
So I want to get back to leadership and community. So how do we?
Bringing the laws to make it easier, because we are law and order. The Wild West was won by law and order. Everybody has to follow rules. Now, let's start fighting over which rules are extreme. If we are losing businesses from being in town, and we all know if we drive downtown Bay City, there's a lot of empty buildings. There's a lot of opportunity that have left. Drive through Uptown, it looks beautiful. Then they're talking about right up 3 blocks, gonna put in low-income housing. You just built high-end, bringing in low-end right next to each other, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
So how does that strengthen community and leadership?
Right, for the leadership, we have to get the money in. How do we get money in? Make laws easier for people to open up the businesses. Make the laws easier for people to work. Make it easier to invite. When you go to Frankenmuth, they have something going on every weekend. They are a true tourism town. Bay City's supposed to be a tourism town, but we don't have that much. Having a free concert does help. Brings people back to town to spend money in town. But that's what it is about, drawing the attention here. Not in a bad way, but in a positive way.
Okay.
Every weekend, something should be going on in town, encouraging people to come to town. Then, once they get here, how can we keep them here? Can we draw more to make more want to come?
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask the next question. What does transparency look like to you in city decision making? What does that look like? Because that has been one thing that people have talked about. There's no transparency. And I think that kind of is what you alluded to in regards to data and that whole situation. But what do you think it looks like to be a little bit more transparent in the city decision making? And Chris, if you want to add something, you can, since you're here.
I'm here. Well, hey, this has been an interesting. Let's give these folks a round of applause, first of all, for sharing their thoughts. And I know we're not over yet, but you know, to stand up and give your opinion can be tough, right? But yeah, I hear it all the time, right? Well, shoot, I voted for the bridge. I must have gotten this big check. Well, the reality is no. You know, you make the decisions you make with the information you have at the time in any leadership position. Right? I know there's instances and you hear of certain folks making decisions that it has happened. You can't say it hasn't happened throughout this country. But you know what? I believe that at a local level here, we use the information we have to make the best decision we have with the input and people showing up, telling us how they feel. Right? Sometimes we don't have this many people in the audience, right? This is great to see. If we had every time we have a city commission meeting, all these people show up. That's awesome. You can hear the arguments and for and against and different decisions are made, you know, but a lot of times people kind of hear it through third party of that, but it's like the tin can game, right? So you tie 2 strings to a tin can and somebody says something, you think you interpret it, and the interpretation of actually what happened is completely lost, right? Or you tell one thing and it goes to the next person. And so people don't think you're transparent, but you are clear. You say the message very clear, but because they're way down there, or that decision was made 8, 9 years ago, I see it so many times. People have, it could happen 2 weeks ago, and the reason and rationale gets lost. And maybe it's a better job that the folks making decisions, maybe we communicate or find a process better so we educate. But it also takes two in communication, right? It's not only the messenger, it's those receiving the message. So sometimes, I'm very interactive online, people know that, because I care and I want people to know as much as I know. I'm not perfect, I don't think anybody's perfect, right? But, the more you know, the rationale and why you make the decisions, this is why I think some are better than others. Leadership, it's learned, and nobody's innate in leadership. There's some people who are really good, but it's something that it takes skill and practice, and you go out and you try to do the best you can. You try to engage in people and let people have their thoughts and opinions, and you make the best with what you have. We have a great community here. People are willing to step in. It's tough to get people to step forward, right? We have open seats. We have an open election this year. We have till April 21st. And I think there's been one candidate filed so far. So, you want to see change, you got to be involved or part of it. And you got to, it is tough sometimes to put your neck out because you make decisions and people are going to come at you. So yeah, I agree that I think this body's been as transparent as possible. You're not always going to agree with the decisions that are made. I've been in city government now for 10 years, almost 11 years. But I think the people around the table care. We may not agree how we get to certain points, but I don't know. That's my thoughts.